Oh boy, here we go.
Oh.
Pressing publish.
Pressing publish. Well, I'm going to assume that means we're live. So hello. Welcome. Is it me you're looking for?
I can see it in your eyes.
Can you?
Yeah.
It's right there, man.
You got
It's
some
right
pretty
there.
eyes, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. The way the light's hitting him from my angle right now.
I'm all flustered now.
Yeah.
We are excited to be hanging out with you for another live SiftPop Weekly. We are going to record the audio portion of the show to get out on the podcast feed. But you get to watch the video portion of the show.
See your handsome faces.
Which is fun. So our sparkling eyes.
Yeah. Man, they look good today.
I think yes, yeah. I think
Did
all
you
around.
use any of those clear eye stuff that Ben Stein's always plugging?
No, I did not. Although I rewatched Brightburn recently, and one of the victims in that could have used some clear eyes, I think.
Yeah.
So
A little bit. Yeah.
could clear some stuff out.
Question.
Yeah,
Why did you rewatch Brightburn?
I think if you think hard enough about it, you'll
Are you guys really?
you'll figure it out. I can't confirm or deny what your
that's
brain just
interesting.
did.
Yeah.
But
Now
yeah,
that I think about it, whenever you say that you're rewatching something,
it should automatically click something in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should be more careful about what I say. Again, thank you for joining us. We will get into the show here shortly. I am kind of looking at the feed here, so it looks like there's already 7 people hanging out with us at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday.
Well, it's
so
a big
thank
movie.
you. So it is, and we appreciate it. If you want to hang out in the chat, I do have access to that here. I will say once we get started, probably won't focus on that as much, but before and after, would love to say hi to you. Will says, "What's up?" What's up, Will? Also, he says Joker sucked. Well, you'll find out what we thought here certainly shortly. Jeff says grabs popcorn. He's ready for the discussion.
It's gonna be good.
Seth, my friend Seth, says you guys are overmodulated a touch.
Gosh, Phil,
So producer Phil will be on
get
that.
your head in the game.
And figure it out. I think it could just even be in the microphones. It may not be something we can fix. As long as you can kind of understand what we're saying, we'll be good. We'll keep tweaking the audio and figure it out. But thank you, actually, Seth. Appreciate that. In fact, I had somebody say after one was over recently, oh, I wish it had been a little bit louder. I'm like, say that during. He's like, well, I didn't want to distract you. I was like, producer Phil's on it, man. Like he's navigating the chat. You can let us know if anything sounds weird or wrong.
I turned it down just a little bit.
Okay.
Just now, so.
Dan says, hey guys, first time I'm watching live. Welcome.
Whoa.
Thank you. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's great to have you here. And Master T610 says, hola. Hola, Master T610.
Is it Master T or Mr. T?
This is Master T,
okay.
T610. So, yeah, not Mr. T. I mean, I would pity the fool who had
You
that
would definitely pity that fool.
username for sure. So welcome all, welcome one. I think Phil has backed off the audio a little bit, so if that sounds a little bit better to you, let us know. If you can't hear us anymore, let us know, and we'll get all that figured out. And again, even during the show, feel free to pop into the chat and let us know so that Phil can adjust that stuff. It is awesome to be hanging out with you guys and getting ready to talk this not at all controversial, not at all in the public consciousness movie today. So we're excited to do it. Will asks, are you excited for the Garth Brooks documentary or think it's going to be overrated? I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I'm not either, but I do like Garth Brooks.
I do too, and I should know what you're talking about because I've been watching a ton of documentaries lately. But
Yeah.
maybe I just missed it. What do you guys?
Is it called The Dance? Or Friends in Low Places?
It's called Chris Gaines. The Artist Project says, what are you guys going to review next week? Gemini Man
Yes.
Is on the schedule for next week, is what we'll be doing there. So if everybody's good, everybody's got their questions out in the chat. Andrew, you good?
Oh, yeah.
Phil, you ready? Mm-hmm. All right, I'll get my notes up here, and Seth says, could probably go down just a bit more. Excited to hear what you have to say. Thanks for the continued feedback, and continue to give Phil that feedback even as we do the show. All right, I'm going to drink some water, and then Phil, whenever you're ready. Make sure my ringer's off here. Yep.
Okay, here we go. 3.
Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks, a podcast that practiced this intro by watching Roddy do intros on The Price is Right. It's a new car! I mean, it's SiftPop.
Come on down.
Welcome to SiftPop, streaming live most weekends or available to download later in your podcast feed, unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patrons get perks.
Patrons get those perks. Oh no, it's gonna be one of those. I'm your host, Aaron Dicer. He is from 7th Heaven, and my magnificent 7 co-host, Andrew Ormsby.
Oh,
I'm working it in there. And each week we'll chat about movies, television, and whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our minds. And it's Joker week, Andrew.
It is Joker week.
You've been waiting for this.
A little bit.
This has been, I feel like, did you say it was your most anticipated for the year? I can't remember. I know mine was Knives Out. That's still coming here in November.
Was Joker mine? No. I'd have to go back and listen to that.
And when I say most anticipated, I mean below Avengers, obviously Avengers, Star Wars are 1, 2, but
I think we did our show after Endgame came out, didn't we?
Oh, we did anticipate it for the year at the beginning of the year, I thought. And we went through every month, remember?
Yeah, I think then technically it would have been...
Endgame.
I know what it was. It was Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Oh, yeah.
It was Godzilla King of the Monsters was most anticipated.
Yeah, that's right.
But Joker for the month of October was number 1.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I'm excited to hear what you thought. If you have any thoughts on it, we'd love to hear it too. This is kind of one of those movies where it's so in the pop culture consciousness. I think I saw it was going to make about 90 million this weekend, based on the Friday. I think it had made 40 million by the end of yesterday, which is ridiculous. It's going to break
for an R-rated movie.
Well, for an October movie, like it's going to break a whole bunch of records. So a lot of people are seeing it. A lot of people are talking about it. A lot of different opinions. Excited to get to ours. We're also going to talk about Joaquin Phoenix movies. Do our best ever.
He's done a few.
Best ever challenge. Actually, less than I thought.
It's a 40-ish or something like that.
I thought it was less than that. Maybe I missed a couple, but...
I just went through his entire
maybe
IMDb.
what it was? Maybe it was less than I've actually seen. He's done a lot of movies I haven't actually had time to see, which is interesting. So maybe I need to catch up on my Joaquin Phoenix. And then we've also, of course, got our buried treasure, all that kind of fun stuff. But first, we'd like to kick it off with some Do We Care?
Every single week, I scour the internet to find out what is going on in the entertainment world. I pick 3 topics for us to discuss, and we must decide, do we care or not? Number 1, Jonah Hill. Speaking of the Batman verse, Jonah Hill is joining Robert Pattinson's Batman film as the Riddler.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Batman films.
And I'm okay with it.
I think most people are. Honestly, if you make good movies, I don't care how many you make. But it's a little. What's kind of nice about it is that DC is kind of figuring out they don't have to do the same thing Marvel's doing.
Then there'd be a cinematic universe.
Yeah, they can do their own thing. They can figure it out, and if something clicks, then you can make a cinematic universe. You're still kind of building that, but don't force it. Don't rush it. This is fine. I'll never forget Jim Carrey's Riddler. That'll always be stuck in my brain.
Yeah.
So
Schumacher.
Somebody else give it a spin. Let's get it done.
I think we talked about this a long time ago, so you may not remember, but I always was like, I would love Aaron Sorkin to write a Batman movie where Riddler was the villain. Just with his crazy mentality and how he, writes stuff. I think that would really lend itself. But regardless,
I like that idea a lot.
Jonah Hill as the Riddler is a very intriguing. The guy is good, and I think that this is a really cool casting idea.
Very nice.
Number 2.
I like it. Can't wait to see the movie.
We kind of talked about the MCU, so we're going to talk about it some more with Martin Scorsese.
Oh, yes.
Have you heard
Marty?
This? Yeah.
Good old Marty.
Marty says MCU films are not cinema, and they are more akin to theme parks because, in his words, they do not try to convey emotional, psychological experiences from one human being to another.
Okay, so you kind of understand what he's saying, right?
Yeah,
but it
he's
definitely comes.
wrong.
I mean, well, he is wrong, but I mean, it comes from a place of ignorance, and I think we all speak to things that we think we understand from a place of ignorance sometimes. So lots of grace for Marty. Marty makes great movies. He's not interested in doing comic book movies. He sees something in them that a lot of people have seen, that they're more theme parks, or some people will say childish or adolescent, those kind of words. If you don't think that these movies are conveying emotion from one human being to another,
it's foolish.
You're just not watching them.
Yeah.
You haven't seen Black Panther then.
Yeah.
You haven't seen,
Infinity War.
Infinity War. Yeah, like you're just not watching them. That's the only thing I can imagine, and that's I don't expect that. But
it's kind of the old guard mentality to scoff at this new era. Because if you remember, Spielberg, was it last year or the year before, said he doesn't think that streaming services should be nominated for any type of awards.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, we're all going to deal with it. We're all going to have get off my lawn type stuff. We will. We just will. We'll think the way that we know it is the best way. I think my personality type is a little more likely to be open to change, just based on my personality type. But human nature, man, we just like things the way we know them, and I don't know. I personally would love to see a Marty Scorsese Marvel movie. I think that would be fun. Do some Marty Marvel.
He'd be pretty good for a darker character like Moon Knight or something like that.
So, but I don't know. For me, this isn't one of those things I get up in arms about. It's just one of those things that somebody spoke from a little bit of a place of ignorance.
Yeah, but then you also have people like who did the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Help me out here.
Put me on the spot, but it was James Gunn.
James Gunn, yeah.
Yep. Got there without Google, man.
I appreciate it.
Our brains aren't even designed anymore to get there without Google.
I know. Do you remember when we were younger how you remembered every single one of your friends' phone numbers?
Uh-huh. Yeah, absolutely.
I still remember some of my friends' phone numbers from 30 years ago.
I do not. I have replaced all that information. But yeah, absolutely. I remember when you had to hold on to information.
Yeah.
And now our brains are more trained to just be in the moment.
Yeah.
And have you heard of the doorway effect? So this is a scientific thing they've studied. When people walk through a doorway, they forget everything in their brain. Because the brain is designed for a new environment to assess what's going on, you can, and this is why you'll walk into a room and forget why you walked in there, which happens to us all. It's because your brain just lets information. So now with our devices and tabs and all that kind of stuff, they're all doorways in our brain. When we go into a new tab or open up our phone, have you ever opened up your phone to do something specific
and you don't remember?
And immediately you don't remember what you were
all the time?
That is how our brains have been trained, and so the doorway effect is killing us, and it's just it's wild, man. But I think we'll adapt. I think our brains will adapt eventually, but it's wild.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got down that rabbit hole, but I love it. So number three. The producers of the Paddington films will be bringing us a Pippi Longstocking franchise.
Ooh.
Little Swedish girl with her monkey.
I bring it on, Paddington producers.
Yeah, she looks a little bit like Wendy from Wendy's.
Oh, that Wendy.
That Wendy. Well, as soon as I said Wendy, I'm like, oh yeah, Wendy from Wendy's. Dave's daughter. How's that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Pippi Longstocking. I think Wendy looks more like Pippi Longstocking. Who was first, right?
It's definitely Pippi Longstocking.
Really? Is it definitely?
Like 1800s, wasn't it, when that book came out?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I know. But do you like Wendy's? Do you eat at Wendy's?
All the time.
I'm not a Wendy's guy.
That's a shame.
They occasionally used to have burgers that I liked, but I haven't seen the one I like in a long time.
Junior bacon cheeseburger?
No, they had like a mushroom melt thing that they did for a while. It was delicious. Well, that's probably why they don't do it anymore.
Yeah. Taco Bell got rid of everything off their menu. You see that? Got rid of the double-decker taco.
Really?
The grilled stuffed burrito.
What?
So they have like 9 things on their menu now. This was like a huge thing.
Wow.
I know this isn't technically entertainment, but number 4, Taco Bell got rid of everything.
We're on all sorts of rabbit trails today.
I know.
No, I love Taco Bell. I love their monthly stuff, but I almost always order off the menu on like outside the menu on Taco Bell anyway, because they never have chili cheese burritos listed up there. But you can order a chili cheese burrito at most Taco Bell places. This was something in high school that I loved. I'd go get 3 chili cheese burritos, and that was my lunch, and it just disappeared. But I keep ordering them, and they keep making them for me. So I don't know how that works, but
they must use chili in other things then.
They must.
I used to get the chili cheese a lot too.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so maybe you can ask for those things and just see if they'll put one together for you. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of anything on Taco Bell's menu that has chili. Yeah. I can't think of anything.
The chili cheese burrito.
Oh, there you go.
Apparently.
Yeah.
The only problem is sometimes people don't know how to make it, and they'll use the nacho cheese sauce instead of the cheddar cheese, which is a totally different thing, and I hate it.
Not cool.
Son, I'll tell you. Once I went to Taco, actually a couple times.
We are in an interesting mode today,
We're
aren't
in
we?
a spiral right now. I went to Taco Bell. It's this one Taco Bell I know not to go there anymore, but I always ask for the nacho cheese chalupa.
Yeah.
And they always give me just the sprinkled shredded cheese. And I'm like, I literally said nacho cheese chalupa. And these fools can't put 2 and 2 together.
Have you tried that cheddar chalupa, the thing where they've got the cheese baked into the chalupa now, or the...
Oh, gosh, no. Yeah. There's some things that Taco Bell does. I'm like, okay, you're pushing it. Like when they had the chicken shell.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
yeah, the naked chicken chalupa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. We love you, Taco Bell.
Fine. That's going to wrap it up for Do We Care. We're never going to get... And this is such a big movie. People are on their devices right now. Stop talking about Taco Bell. Get to the movie.
The chat is complaining about how hungry they are now.
Oh, great. Apologies.
It's just our way of trolling you. Yeah. We're using mass media to cause division and outrage. Let's do it. Let's talk about the Joker.
Arthur, I have some bad news for you. This is the last time we'll be meeting.
You don't listen, do you? You just ask the same questions every week. How's your job? Are you having any negative thoughts? All I have are negative thoughts.
Forever alone in a crowd, failed comedian Arthur Fleck seeks connection as he walks the streets of Gotham City. Arthur wears 2 masks, the one he paints for his day job as a clown and the guise he projects in a futile attempt to feel like he's part of the world around him. Isolated, bullied, and disregarded by society, Fleck begins a slow descent into madness as he transforms into the criminal mastermind known as the Joker. All right, Joaquin Phoenix playing the Joker. You got some De Niro in there as well occasionally, and lots of interesting things going on. Let's start off as we always do. Did you like it, love it, dislike it, hate it, or it was just okay?
I think everybody knows where I'm going to land on this, so I want you to start.
Everybody knows where you're going to land? Yeah. Everybody but your co-host, apparently.
Okay.
I mean, I assume you liked it, but I think it was just okay.
Really?
I have a lot of problems with this movie.
Interesting.
But I do recognize some of the technical astonishment of what's going on here.
So you're landing on it's just okay.
Yeah, I'm landing on it's just okay, but it's more of a balanced. It's not a meh. It's just okay. It's a pros and cons balancing each other out. It's just okay.
Nice.
So, and you?
Instant classic / masterpiece, top 100 films of all time.
All right. I didn't ask that. Loved it would have sufficed, Andrew. Those were the choices. I didn't give classic masterpiece top 100 of all time as a choice.
I love Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Yes.
It's not top 100. So love has...
Well, let's say high side of loved it. This is how we do things around here.
Beyond loved it.
Okay, very nice.
Yes.
Well, then glow, man. Just go and glow.
Okay.
Talk about how amazing this movie is.
I love the fact that this is a superhero movie that is not a superhero movie. And by that, I mean, yes, there are no superheroes in it. But it doesn't feel like a comic book movie, I guess is a better way to say it.
I thought that's the movie I was going. It almost felt much more like a comic book movie than I was ready for.
Really?
I mean, I don't think that detracts from the movie, but I was actually kind of blown away by how comic booky a lot of this stuff is. Maybe you just can't escape it. But yeah.
I think the fact that this movie is not afraid to turn a mirror on society and show, yes, this is a period piece, and it's kind of like a look back at like the 70s of like New York and stuff like that. It's not really a modern movie, even though it looks like it takes place in modern time, but the mentality of it all is so old. And the fact that it shows the way that we used to treat people, or how we used to put social classes above one another, it's talking about all of that, and how all of that would lead potentially to someone going insane. And in this particular case, it could have been any it could have just been he just went crazy. But in this one, he happens to become the Joker.
Well, but let me, and I'm not pushing back again on anything that makes this quality. This is not a negative thing. I'm not trying to say a negative thing. I'm just questioning some of the thing. He doesn't go insane. He is insane. This movie takes very great pains to say from the very beginning that he has mental issues, that he has problems that he's medicating, and also where that comes from. The movie details very clearly where his psychosis comes from. So it isn't that it isn't a picture of a man slowly going insane. It's a picture of a man giving in to his already existing demons.
I'm going to push back on that.
Okay.
Because this is just me personally, I feel there's a difference between a mental illness and insanity.
Okay.
I think
that's fair. That's probably very fair, and I was probably insensitive to kind of combine the two.
It's not insensitive. It's just I have a mental illness.
Right.
I'm not insane.
Right.
I think that the mental illness was a stepping off point to that helped accumulate like all the things that were happening to him. Getting beat up, people ignoring him.
So what do you mean when you
that.
say insane then?
I mean
because I think that word itself is kind of weighed down.
Sure. In this particular case, it's going to be him having no regard for himself or others, and him, being fine with killing and harming people, because in his mind, all of that is justified by everything that's happened to him.
Do you think he's making conscious decisions to do that? Or do you think, again, that's part of his mental illness that is allowing him? Because I feel like more he is giving into his mental illness than something is changing in him. I feel like the only thing that's changing in him is he's not taking his medication, and he is embracing what makes him special, which are those mental illnesses that he has.
I think that the mental illness is actually an afterthought. This is more a look on how society and just the world has treated him. I think that is more detrimental and causing of what made him become the Joker than, say, his mental illness. His mental illness was not catalyst, but like it helped. It just egged everything on to him becoming insane.
I find it, and this is where I do move into some of my negatives, but I do find it a little muddled and a little confusing as to he is like why he is doing what he is doing, his ability to do what he is doing, and is the movie trying to say something about mental illness, or is it trying to say something about society's treatment of mental illness?
I think more that.
And if so, then how does that have to do with any conscious decision that he has under his own purpose and motivation? Like, if that's the case, we should absolutely 100% empathize with this character.
No.
If it's okay, well, I'm just saying, if that's the case, if the case is that this is society's view on mental illness, and he's mentally ill and doing these things, we should have the empathy to say we need to help this person. So where is that trigger, so to speak, in this for this character to become the Joker and make any kind of conscious decision to do so?
Are you looking at this film and trying to find somebody to sympathize with? Because I don't think this movie has a good guy. I think every single person in this movie is a villain.
Right.
And I think that's kind of...
But there's empathy in this movie.
There's empathy in this movie, but I think what Todd Phillips is saying here if you're coming at this from a comic book standpoint, is the Joker's world is chaos. There is nothing in it that is any beaming hope at all.
Okay.
I mean, in spoilers, I could talk about something towards the end of this movie that, could lead towards potential hope or anything like that. But I think that this movie is just saying, you know what? This is a confined story that's all about chaos. Nothing good or anybody good is going to be in this story. You're not going to relate. You're not going to empathize because, yes, something bad may happen to somebody, but that doesn't automatically make them your protagonist.
Right. I mean, there are smaller characters that I empathize with for sure.
There are
Zazie Beetz' character,
there are innocents, but there are no good guys.
Sure. Well, certainly protagonist-wise.
Yes.
This movie has an antagonist, not a protagonist, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, no,
it's kind
totally.
of like There Will Be Blood.
Yeah, totally. I totally get that. I guess let's keep talking about the good stuff, but remind me to come back to the fact that I believe that this movie has irreparably changed the character of the Joker in a way that I don't think is really good for that character's ability to be the Joker. I'm thinking about a sequel and how
Todd already said no sequels.
Well, I mean, he may have said that, but 90 million opening weekend will change some minds. I'm just telling you, we've heard no sequels before. I'm just remind me to get back to how the Joker character has changed. But let's talk more about the good stuff.
This is something I know we have to agree on. This is probably Joaquin Phoenix's best performance.
Dude, I mean, on a commitment level, I've seen very few things like it in my lifetime.
Speaking of There Will Be Blood, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Right, sure. Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis commits to a part.
Yeah.
But Joaquin committed to this part. And the things he's doing with his vocalizations, the things he's doing with his body movement, with his contorting.
So he lost, I read this morning, he lost 52 pounds to do this role in
you
a few
can tell.
months. And he looks emaciated. In
yeah,
it.
yeah, he lost a lot of muscle to do this role.
Yeah.
And I hope he did it under great guidance and safe care. Usually when Christian Bale will talk about this, he's like, I have somebody who is telling me how to do this in the safest way so it doesn't impact my heart and doesn't hurt me, and I hope that's the same for Joaquin. But what he's doing here with the stifled laughter, with it's just
with his laughing condition, which, oh man, when you could see it just hurts him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's in physical pain as he's laughing at times, and I felt every time he kind of choked on his laugh, I felt it in my own body. I was like, man, now I feel bad. It's
an incredible performance.
His dancing, everything, and I think his transition was so fluid. And maybe this is kind of going back towards where we are going to disagree on the story, but I think where he is at the beginning of this movie to where he ends up as the Joker, I bought the entire way. I don't know about you. Did you?
Well, as far as the transfer,
him go. Okay, you have to admit the person at the beginning of this movie is not the same person at the end of this movie.
Correct.
You have to admit that. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Totally.
And I think that transition is very well done in this movie.
And I would use the word transition as opposed to transformation. For me, just because I feel like there's not a conscious decision that's going on here. There's a release that's going on here. I think the movie is telling us that he is embracing what he has always been, and I think he even has some lines to that effect where it's like, I have I finally understand what makes me special, and those kind of things. So but yes, it's definitely a different character at the end who is more free in his illness.
He had a quote in this movie, and it's not even a quote he said, but it's a quote he had written down that is stuck with me for so long, and it's the worst part about having a mental illness is people expect you to behave like you don't. Mm-hmm. And as somebody with a mental illness, that resonated so much with me. And I got to say this.
Well, that's that empathy I'm talking about.
And this, I really have to say this. As somebody with a mental illness, this movie is not a depiction of everybody who has a mental illness is going to become a psychopath that wants to kill everybody. And I never felt that way during this movie. So I've read some people online are like, oh, this is kind of, trying to make you sympathize with, people with mental illnesses and how they can become crazy, stuff like that.
I have a friend who deals with his own stuff that was really hurt by this movie. He really did feel that way. And again, here's the thing. this is kind of what makes art beautiful, right? Like the ability to take our own perspective into it and see different things. Everybody's going to come out a little bit differently. Mental illness is not a word you can just put in a box and it means the same thing for every person who
Obviously,
experiences
yeah.
it, every person who deals with it. The real truth of the matter is we all have levels of mental illness. It is a spectrum. We all deal with our own things. There are the idea that, one of my good friends talks about therapy and is a real proponent that everybody could use therapy. We all have stuff that we could deal with. And I agree with that. And so that's, it's not even a matter of degree. It's just a matter of difference. It's a matter of change. It's a matter of healthy living. It's a matter of healthy thinking. It's a matter of chemicals. It's a matter, there's all these different things, right, that go into what mental illness is. And I think part of the issue with this movie is that it really wants to authentically deal with this character's mental illness. And in our culture, and with as much as that means, it's obviously going to be controversial. I don't know that there's a way not to make it controversial if you're going to tie mental illness to the story this directly, right? Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm not even saying, again, that goes in the good category or the bad category. I'm saying it goes in the obvious category. I do hear some people saying, I don't get it. Why is the movie controversial? I'm like, dude, mental illness is one of those things that if you're going to try to, even in a movie like this that deals with a fictional character, if you're going to try to make it real and authentic, and boy, does this movie make his mental illness real and authentic. Like you said, it turns his laugh into a physical ailment and a physical part of his mental illness. And it gives him reasons for his mental illness, abuse, and in even physical damage, that it talks about. If you're going to do that, you are putting yourself in a position to be controversial, and it's just going to happen.
I think that another thing that leads to this movie being controversial is the fact that the Joker has always been this person, but nobody has ever wanted to look at the Joker and be like, to humanize him. He's always been, evil incarnate, and you don't want to think of evil incarnate as being human. The Joker is never anybody that you would associate with, anything besides like a famed serial killer or anything like that.
Right.
But this movie tries to turn him into a human, which technically the Joker is a human. So Todd Phillips is really doing some interesting things here. He's not afraid to show you a reality that's going to make you think. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe a lot of people just don't want that from a comic book movie.
I do. I think you also have to deal with what that means for this character then. And I think what that means for this character is that this character is somebody that needs help. And this character is somebody that has been beaten down so much that they think the only way they can exist is to embrace their mental illness as opposed to take care of it. And that, I think that has ramifications on the storytelling.
Also, the fact that people don't like to be blamed. And this movie blames society. Mm-hmm. So it's another thing that people are going to be up in arms about. Like Todd Phillips is saying, the Joker wasn't born, he was made, and you as society helped make him. And then people are going to look at this movie and be like, well, wait a second, I didn't do anything, and people are going to be, taken aback by that, and they're going to be defensive of it.
Sure.
So, but he's right. I really do believe Todd Phillips is right in this aspect of, you can't just have a Joker movie where his life is fine, but he just becomes the Joker. I think that this is actually the safest way to tell a Joker story, a Joker origin story. Because if you were to say that he had a happy life and everything was okay for him, and he still became the Joker, I think that would be way more controversial. I really do. I think that would be so much more controversial than what they've had laid out here. Because this is kind of believable, that society has just pushed a man to the breaking point. Mm-hmm. We've seen that before.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Let's talk about other great stuff. The sound design in this is incredible.
Oh my gosh.
The score is amazing.
The score is so good.
Like I said, the technical aspects of this movie are mind-blowing. The sound, the score, the visual design, of this world is so incredible, so well shot.
Cinematography's out of this world.
Yeah, Todd Phillips is making some incredible choices with how he's shifting shots, doing different things. He has captured this performance in a really amazing way. And again, we talk often about when an actor has a bad performance, about how all these people go into this. So, you've got the writer who wrote the words, you've got the director who told him what to do, who took a bunch of takes, you've got the director who probably picked the take that he wanted or she wanted that was the best. You've got the editor who messed with the timing and different stuff, and of course people are overseeing that, the cinematographer. A lot of people come into a performance.
Yeah.
That goes for great performances as well. Joaquin Phoenix is doing incredibly committed work here, but it jumps off the screen because of all those other talented people who are doing that as well. And this movie, if nothing else, is a technical achievement. It's astounding to watch. I just thought it was gorgeous.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be watching this movie so many times because it's a movie that I feel with every single viewing I'm going to pick up on something, because there's so much that's unspoken or up to the audience's interpretation, which we haven't even talked about that element of it, of how much this movie you can interpret however you want, or you can have conversations.
Do you mean the
about
actual reality of the movie?
Yes.
No, I don't buy that. I don't pick up on that at all. I think this movie has a very clear reality.
Okay.
I don't think there's a single portion of this movie that the movie doesn't make a statement about it being real or fake.
He is a totally unreliable narrator.
Well, he's not the narrator. The camera's the narrator.
As in, this is his story. This story is about him. Everything. Okay.
He's an unreliable person, but he's not in control of the story. Like, he's not in control of how it's told.
Some of the things we're seeing on screen are his projection.
And the movie lets us know that.
Yeah, sometimes. I think that there's other times where it's up to your...
Are there examples you want to talk about in spoilers?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool, I'm excited to talk about those. Because, I mean, it could be obviously wrong. But I thought this movie was very clearly gave you what was real and what was not.
Okay.
Throughout the movie. I didn't walk away from it going, ooh, I wonder if that part was real.
Oh, me. And that's why I'm so excited to rewatch this movie so many times.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not excited to rewatch this movie. The only reason I would be for the technical things. But this is to the movie's credit-ish, which is it is disorienting. It is very dark. It's very disturbing.
Dark. Yeah.
It's not something I, quote unquote, enjoyed at really any moment. There is an artistry to that. There's an artistry to making a crowd, an audience uncomfortable. And this movie certainly does that. I think this movie is a strange comedy in a lot of ways. The crowd I was with laughed a lot at very dark and horrible moments.
You're sure it wasn't uncomfortable laughter?
I think it was.
Okay.
That's where I was getting. That's what I'm saying. There's this such uncomfort that it's uncomfortable laughter. And
isn't that meta in a way, though? For
that's
this
exactly
character?
where I was going.
Okay.
Yeah, that's part of an interesting meta part of this movie is what Todd Phillips is doing here is saying, are we the Joker? Are we laughing when we don't want to laugh? Are we able to control things?
See, I think that's brilliant.
Well, it can be brilliant, and also brilliance can be what's the word I'm looking for that's not pedantic. Brilliance can also be unproductive. Brilliance can be consequentially negative. And I'm not presuming to know the consequence of this movie on anybody's thought process or anything, but there are arguments to be made that Hitler was brilliant. You know what I mean? Like brilliance, and I don't mean that to say this movie is Hitler. I'm just saying that there is an argument to be made that something can be really well done, really smart, and still not consequentially a benefit to the viewer.
Are you saying this because you don't think the movie has a message? Because I think that's intentional for the movie to not have a message.
Oh, I thought the movie had a message. I just think it's muddled. I think there are several messages struggling to get out here. I really feel, and I said this pretty much immediately, I feel like the technical achievement of this movie is hiding some really deep flaws in this movie, both structurally, plot-wise, some things that don't make really any sense about choices this character makes. Choices that other people make around this character are just ridiculous, and as well as some flaws thematically, which is the muddled messages that are just kind of bubbling underneath about mental illness, about society, those kind of things. It's almost like it pretends to be a little more meaningful than it is, because it can't make up of its mind what its own meaning is. So yeah, I came away from it just a little discombobulated.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to disagree with you on that.
Sure.
But I think whenever we get to spoilers, I can go into more detail.
And that does make it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And we will certainly have a SIF spoil that we will throw in your podcast feed as well on this movie as we talk about it a little bit more. Anything else non-spoilery that you want to bring up?
No post-credit scene.
There is no post-credit scene.
Yeah.
In this movie. The only other thing I would bring up is, what a waste of Mark Maron.
I don't think you can really waste Mark Maron. He's not like a George Clooney or anything like that where you have...
I don't know. I love him in Glow. I think he does great work. Yeah. I loved him in the show he did. And I remember, seeing stills leading up to this movie of, him and De Niro and Joaquin at a restaurant, I think, walking down the street. There were just stills of him, and like none of that stuff's in the movie. I just wonder, like, if they really cut the De Niro, Maron stuff way short. Why do you cast Mark Maron to say one line? That's my question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think there was a whole subplot that got cut out.
I will say though that for as little as he's on screen, I think De Niro is like going all out in this one.
I thought De Niro was bad in this movie.
Really?
I really did.
I'm definitely going to disagree with you on that.
I think I'm way in the minority on that. I really do. I think I'm way in the minority.
He reminds me so much of his King of Comedy character, just flipped on its end.
It almost seemed like he was like a bad version of his own character. Like there's a I don't know. It felt very try hard to me.
Man.
I don't know. That could have just been my perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't buy the De Niro part in this movie, and part of that also was how small it is, and part of it are the decisions that character is making. Like, it made no sense. That character makes no sense in this movie. Maybe we need to wait till spoilers to talk about this a little further.
Yeah, I'm confused as to what you mean by
that character's choices serve one purpose, and that is to move the plot where they needed the plot to go. That character's choices make no sense in a real world.
You're going to have to, in spoilers, tell me what choices you're talking about, because I honestly have no idea what you're saying.
I will absolutely do that.
All right.
I don't think I have anything else to really talk about.
So you wouldn't recommend this movie, or would you?
I think I would recommend it to... what's the typical phrase? A discerning viewer. Somebody who wants to experience art, interpret art, have their own opinion about art. For the typical moviegoer, I think it depends on your comfort with being uncomfortable. I think that's what it comes down to. But yeah, I found it very disturbing.
This movie moved me watching it, but the way that it moved me was not fun.
Phil, where did you land on this? Like it, love it, hate it, just okay?
I'm probably just a shade more towards liked it than Aaron. I thought most of it was just okay, and then I liked certain parts of it quite a bit actually. But I don't know. It was. So, like, the first question I got from one of my family members was, "Did you enjoy the movie?" And I said, "I don't think enjoy is the right term."
Yeah, no, that's a no for me. That's an absolute no for me.
That disagrees with you, Andrew. But I just walked out of it just really depressed, and I felt like it was very well shot. But I don't think I'll watch it again, just because it made me very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So and that is the point. The point of the movie is to make us uncomfortable, I think. So.
But my question remains: to what purpose?
Yeah.
And I don't know that the movie ever states that clearly, and I don't know that the movie ever even understands its own purpose.
I don't think that this movie is supposed to have a purpose.
Well, then cool. Then why should I ever watch it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Then what is my purpose in watching it?
Okay, your overall purpose in this is, really stretching the bounds here. Your overall purpose is to understand why the Joker is. If you are looking at if this is canon, which it's not,
well,
I guess
then
we should say that this movie is not canon in the Batman universe.
It's that is such a weird thing for me to think about. I mean, it's canon in its own universe. There are several. It's not canon in the comic universe, obviously, but neither is the DCU. It's not canon in the I don't know all the different universes. But yeah, but what you're saying then by that is you're giving the movie a purpose.
That's what I'm saying, but it's a very broad and base. Like this is how the Joker became. This is how Arthur became the Joker.
Okay, that's information.
Yes. Okay, so it's informing if you were ever curious, I'm like, oh, I wonder how the Joker became the Joker. This could be in your mind, or you could look at the Killing Joke and be like, okay, so that's how the Joker became the Joker.
But you know what else gives information? Wikipedia articles. Like, write it up in a Wikipedia article and I can go read the information. Like, there's...
Come on, this has got to be so much more entertaining. And
well, that's a different purpose. If the purpose is just information, you can write it up in a Wikipedia article. But if it's also entertainment, which it wasn't for me, it was not entertaining. It was astounding, technically, but it was not entertaining. If the purpose is empathy or caring about these characters, that's fine. We can talk about that. But if the purpose is just information, then I can get that in a bunch of different ways. So that's what I'm saying. There's such this movie has such a muddled idea of purpose and consequence and what it wants to do that it's hard for me to see the why of it all. So yeah,
I'm glad that I watched it just for the things that Andrew is saying, but I'm with you. I probably won't watch it again.
So anyways, yeah, it's definitely an experience, if nothing else.
So are you saying that, I know we're really dragging this on, but
no, this is the heart of the podcast right now.
A movie doesn't have to always make you leave comfortable. One of your favorite movies,
of course
Passion
not.
of the Christ.
Right.
Of
course not.
You don't leave that movie feeling comfortable.
Not at all. And it's hard to watch again, yeah.
The Road. You don't leave The Road feeling comfortable.
Correct.
Yeah. And this is kind of along those lines of a movie that is just supposed to make you feel uncomfortable.
Again, to what purpose, though? Why are you supposed to feel uncomfortable? The uncomfortability itself,
why are you supposed to feel uncomfortable in The Road? What's the overall purpose of The Road?
Nihilism. The overall purpose of The Road is to come out of that going, we're doomed. To come out of that going, humanity cannot figure this out. This is our eventuality. We're doomed. The overall purpose of Passion of the Christ is to understand that sacrifice, to the depth of the darkness of sacrificing your life for an untold, humanity,
Look at the Joker as a cautionary tale of if you...
Okay, this is what I want to know, so continue.
Yeah. Think of this as a cautionary tale. This could happen if, we continue to have a society where just say for a modern time, social media, how every single tweet is somebody bashing somebody else or trying to tear somebody down, This could be a metaphor for that. It could be like the way we treat people has consequences. That could be your overall message for this or purpose for this movie.
Totally agree. If it is, we have to deal with the consequences of what that means about this character and what that means about this being in this comic book universe, which the movie doesn't shy away from at all. And I think we have to wait to get into spoilers to talk about that consequence. Okay. But yes, that's fine. I think that might have been one of the themes and purposes of this movie. I just think other things it does with the character and the comic book aspect overall, not necessarily contradict that totally, but give it a weird paradox that is just, it makes the movie muddle itself.
And I'm so interested by what you mean by all that. So whenever we get to spoilers, actually, I think in spoilers, you're going to do most of the talking. It's just going to be like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Yeah. I'm curious to go back and read. The chat is hopping, man.
Are they really?
Yeah, the chat is hopping. I'm interested to go back and hear what a lot of people in the chat have to say.
Yeah.
And again, if nothing else, this is why I love doing what we do, right? I love having these discussions. So for me, part of the purpose of this movie is to be able to have these discussions and to talk about these things. That serves for me. But for the typical moviegoer, they're not looking to do a weekly show about movies. They're just wanting to go be entertained or see something interesting. So I think it does depend on who it is and what they'll get out of it. So yeah,
I do think that this movie's going to spark all kinds of discussions, though. Like it's not one of those movies that people aren't going to have an opinion about.
Sure,
it's going to be something that's going to be talked about for a while.
Yeah.
So,
Well, nice. That was a nice big movie discussion. You ready to head on?
Yeah.
All right, let's go into the best ever challenge now. We're going to do best ever Joaquin Phoenix movies since he absolutely slayed this.
Minus the Joker, obviously.
Minus the Joker, that's correct. We don't usually slot in the one that we're doing here. I should say best ever Joaquin. Did I say performances or movies? Because it's movies.
It's movies.
Yes, best ever Joaquin Phoenix movies. We'll go from number 5 to number 1. Yes, we're sticking with the top 5, and then do some honorable mentions as well. Who would you like to start?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Walk the Line.
Yeah, that was in my honorable mentions.
Okay. Great movie, great performance by Joaquin as Johnny. And then just how I think that he can really, we kind of talked about this before, how he just really immerses himself in a role. And when you're watching this movie, you're like, oh, that's Johnny Cash. You know, you're not going like, oh, that's Joaquin Phoenix giving a really good Johnny Cash performance.
Right.
Because he just really commits to it. And a lot of this stuff I didn't know about Johnny Cash. I just, I thought the guy walked the line, or walked hard according to Dewey Cox, which we're going to be talking about John C. Reilly later. And Reese Witherspoon nails it in this. I think this is just a great movie.
Very good call. My number 5 is Hotel Rwanda.
Trump.
All right, fair enough. What's your number 4?
The Master.
Yeah, also my honorable mention. You're just going to take all my honorable mentions.
Okay. I think that besides the Joker, this is his best performance.
He's great in The Master.
Yeah.
He's incredible. I didn't like The Master overall as a movie.
Love it.
But he's great in The Master.
I'm a sucker for PTA, so I just got to get that out of there.
He's mostly hit, but sometimes miss, and The Master was a miss for me.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
But no, him and Philip Seymour Hoffman just going off of each other. That scene where Philip Seymour Hoffman is doing the fast answer, the lightning round, without blinking to answer those questions is so powerful, and the acting on that was turned up to 11.
Yeah. You want my number 4?
I do.
Gladiator. All right, fair enough. What's your number 3?
This is where I had Hotel Rwanda.
Okay, let's
I'll
talk
let you talk about it.
No, you have it higher.
No, but
you talk.
I'm the only one who's talked.
That's fine. It's just happening that way. Go for it.
This is a movie where it's not really Joaquin as the front and center. This is a Don Cheadle movie.
It's exactly that is a little bit different in this movie.
Yeah. Brutal movie. Mm-hmm. Oh man, this is a brutal movie, but powerful.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for based on true story events, and the fact that this movie for me informed me that this event had happened. I didn't know about this massacre that killed more people in 24 hours than Hiroshima.
It's crazy how closed off we are to tragedies in the rest of the world.
It's true.
It is one of our greatest weaknesses as humans in this country. We're so centered on America that we are something like Hotel Rwanda can happen and we can be completely unaware of it.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. So that was my number 3 or 4?
That was your number 3.
Okay. So your number
My
3.
number 3
yes,
is The Village.
Okay. Honorable mention.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yay! I get to talk a little bit.
Finally.
I knew I'd have the M. Night Joaquin stuff up a little higher than you. A little higher than most, actually. Most people, The Village is kind of where they let go of M. Night. I shouldn't say most, but a lot of people found the twist obvious and thing. And
I thought it was still a good movie.
Well, and that's my thing. Like a twist can be obvious, but still turn the story in an interesting way. This movie, I think I've talked about before how much it means to me personally. The idea of, boy, I think it is even more potent today than it was when it came out, with our divided society and with the idea of just, tribalism and getting into tribes and saying everybody outside our tribe is bad and the worst and that kind of thing. And there was a lot of that in the religious community as I was growing up. The idea that anybody who wasn't a quote unquote Christian like we knew to be a Christian was a bad person, and you don't want to be like that. And by the way, I say this every time, and I'll repeat it here because I think it's important. That mindset did not come from my parents. It came from the people I was around at church and those different things. My parents were actually very different than that. But it is one of those things where this movie was really like, yeah, we have to quit cordoning ourselves off as tribes and pretending like everybody else is an outsider. We have to find empathy and understanding with people who come from different places, different perspectives, different ideas. That's the only way we succeed as humans, is to be able to do that. And I think that message is even more important today than it has been in the last couple decades. So always important, but it's really important now. So those are some of my thoughts on The Village.
Nice. You're going to trump my number 2, so why don't you give me your number 2?
What do you have at number 2?
I already know what you're going to trump her.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's your number 2?
My number 2 is another M. Night. I have Signs.
This was my number 6.
Okay, yeah.
So close. I love Signs.
Another M. Night movie I really, really dig.
I love this movie.
I think this movie, more than a lot of his movies, uses the quote-unquote twists. And by the way, I've come to despise the word twist because it has all these psychological ramifications. I like now to just say story movements, story changes. But anyways, the twists in this movie, the story movements, the plot movements in this movie are so key to your understanding of the theme of this movie and what it's about and what it means, that they're euphoric to me. The first time I watched it, I was blown away by what the movie was saying and how it used those story movements to say it. And so, yeah, this is high on my list.
Aaron?
Yeah.
Swing away.
Thank you. Yeah. I think I will.
The soundtrack of this movie is amazing, too. I don't think that the soundtrack or the score for Signs gets enough credit.
Yeah.
Something that I noticed, and I think I noticed it more so with Signs than I did like Sixth Sense or even The Village. M. Night has a way of making performances look bland but still believable.
Yeah.
It's really weird, like the lack of emotion that's given off by people in his movies is very telling. And I know that sounds weird for a lack of emotion to be telling, but but I still somehow people like Phoenix or Gibson, they can, not much going on here, but still you understand everything that character's trying to convey.
M. Night doesn't get enough credit for the performances that he pulls out and what they mean to the tone of the movie, because he has a way with stillness in acting and pulling out of his actors that is really affecting and tension building, and he does really good work with it. Now, because it's so distinct, it's also something that can be almost made fun of at a point. It almost becomes self-parody at a point later on in his career. But yeah, it's good stuff. I really enjoy it.
All right, so
you're going to talk about number 1, I'm guessing, is Gladiator for you.
It is Gladiator.
Yeah.
Ooh, man. I think that,
you ready for Gladiator 2?
I cannot believe that is happening. But I think this is the first movie I remember seeing Joaquin Phoenix in.
I think so. I think that's probably true for me as well.
Yeah. But I just remember he was an amazing villain. Oh, he was so good as a villain. And it's nothing like the Joker. The guy's got range, but he knows how to play a villain.
I think up until this point, I kind of just knew him as River Phoenix's brother.
Yeah, so. Because I think before this, all of his movies, he was Leaf Phoenix, which I guess is his birth name.
Could be. But, those hippie parents, man.
Yeah. But, Leaf, River, Joaquin. But no, this is definitely, even though he is the main villain, I think that this is definitely a Russell Crowe movie. And the cinematography and the CGI and how they just made the Coliseum feel so grand. I remember when I saw this movie for the first time in theaters, and it's the first time, because before they go to actual Rome, he's doing gladiatorial matches, in like Carthage and like other cities within Italy. But when they go to Rome and they actually walk into the Colosseum, and just the mass and scale of it was just so awe-inspiring. It was it's a beautifully shot movie, beautiful story of redemption and revenge. I absolutely love Gladiator.
Very nice. And you correctly guessed my number 1.
Yeah.
It is her. It blows my mind how accurate this movie is going to be about the future, and already is starting to become, with digital assistants and those kind of things. It will, to people in the future, I feel like it.
Documentary.
Well, they'll think it must have been made more recently than it was. It's mind blowing, not only in its vision of the future, but also in the story it's telling about our interaction with our technology and what it's teaching us about who we're becoming as we're attached to technology. It's in some ways anticipatory of the singularity, and a different kind of singularity than we've seen in other movies, which I find very interesting. But at the end of the day, it's really about being human, which is very interesting. This movie that is so beautifully technological is about what it means to be a human being.
Scarlett Johansson was crazy good in this movie. And the fact that she dubbed this movie and it's still so believable is like out of this world.
Yeah.
She doesn't get enough credit for voice acting.
I'm really, really proud of the Critics Association, the BFCA.
That nominated
We
her?
nominated her performance that year for Best Supporting Actress, even though she was never on the screen.
Yeah.
We nominated her for Best Supporting Actress, and I think it was well-deserved.
Going back to the singularity, I think that a lot of movies start off with the singularity as an already all-knowing entity.
Right.
Whereas this one starts off with a learning aspect to it, and becoming that singularity.
Right.
Which, it starts off with something that is, in a lack of a better term, I guess, human.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, what's her character's name in this? It was
I don't remember.
I'll just say Scarlett,
Sure, yeah.
The way Scarlett starts off is very human.
Samantha
is very human in that aspect, that she wants to learn. She's curious, but she's able to pick up on things so quickly that she eventually becomes, a singularity with all the other AI.
Do you think it's possible that Spike Jonze will look back on his movies in the future as one of the greats, like one of the great directors? I feel like he does such incredible stuff. Adaptation is an incredible film.
It's not.
It really is. I mean, it's mind-blowingly good.
Wait, Adaptation is that
Nicolas Cage,
the puppet? Oh no, what am
Being
I
John
thinking?
Malkovich?
No, the puppet movie he did where.
The puppet movie, Where the Wild Things Are?
No, not Where the Wild Things Are. I'm thinking of the other Kaufman movie.
Oh, Charlie, you're thinking of Anomalisa.
Anomalisa, yeah. I hate that movie. Adaptation is brilliant.
Yes, right. Thank you. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Okay.
I was like, is he doesn't like Adaptation?
Adaptation,
which is fine. That's okay.
Here's where I got confused. Adaptation and Anomalisa are both Charlie Kaufman.
Correct.
So,
yeah, and they both start with A and have several
with A.
syllables. Yeah,
Yes.
I get it.
So that's where I got messed up.
Yeah.
But no, Adaptation is brilliant, and I love it. And the fact that he wanted to adapt that book, but he couldn't find a way, so he made a movie about making writing the script for the book. It's so meta.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Being John Malkovich is another one of my favorites. Spike Jonze is going to be one of those guys I think we'll look back and go, what a brain, man. It's kind of like how artists look back on MC Escher. Like Escher was just a weird guy that did weird paintings, and then, we look back and we go, wow, that brain that did that stuff.
I don't look back on. I'm not an Escher fan. But
well,
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
You can leave. No, I'm just kidding. Or Bach, then. Bach's music is like that. It's absolutely astonishing. So there you go. They're our favorite Joaquin Phoenix movies. The only other one I had in my honorable mentions was To Die For.
By the way, everybody, I was joking about Escher. I just wanted to start some controversy.
On this podcast?
I know. That's what I do, man. Get off my lawn.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Vigor and vinegar on this side of the table, remember?
Yeah, that's right.
But Escher, the way he made things like so confusing, the way he moved with like objects and stuff, I love him.
I think Spike Jonze is kind of the director version of MC Escher.
I think Cronenberg is more along the lines of just twisted and like what is going on in that brain than because a lot of what
but there's a meta-ness to
Spike Jonze is
Escher
more
that
he was, for lack of a better term, adapts things. He's not the one coming up with those ideas. Like Where the Wild Things Are is not a Spike Jonze idea.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
But whatever, people. Whatever.
But her is.
Her is definitely, yeah. Okay, so honorable mentions.
Yeah, the only other one I had was To Die For. That was the only other one I mentioned.
Okay. I got two more then. Sisters Brothers. That was one I was talking about with John C. Reilly.
Right.
I like that movie. It's really good.
Yeah.
And then a movie that I remember being so powerful when I first saw it a long time ago was Ladder 49, the John Travolta firefighter movie. Did you ever see that one?
No.
Ooh, it's a brutal movie, man. But any movie that deals with like the lives of like and the tragedy of like being a firefighter, kind of like what was that movie that came out with Josh Brolin? Only the Brave, except this was in buildings instead of the woods.
Yeah, I love Only the Brave. That movie just keeps growing on me.
Ladder 49 is a lot like that. It's Joaquin and John Travolta. John Travolta actually in one of his rare good roles, and like how the firefighters is actually like a family, like the loss of one is like losing a brother, stuff like that, Yeah. I really like Ladder 49, and I recommend it.
Very nice. Well done. Before we move on to our Sift Quest, your question for the week, just a reminder that if you want to be a member of SiftPop, there's lots of cool benefits to that, and among them, just the fact that you're keeping this thing going, and we really appreciate it. In fact, I think we've got 3 new members to thank since last week. It's kind of one of those things where I think people wanted to hear more about our TV picks, right? Isn't that what we did last week? That's one of the cool benefits to being a member of SiftPop is we do an extra podcast every week. The short one, you just do a members only bonus podcast, and you get to check that out. So big thank you to Matt, who recently became a member. And why am I not seeing the other ones? I thought I had them.
While
here,
you're looking that up, I have an idea for our patron post show.
Okay.
Jokers, from Cesar Romero to Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, we can talk about other Jokers in the world of pop culture for our members only post show. Let me find this because I really do want to thank these new members. But I think I mentioned Matt was a new member, and you know what? I don't see him anymore. But I guess I'll get him next time.
We do appreciate you, and we will give you your shout out whenever we find you.
Or what we can do, Phil, is we can kind of pause here. You can cut this out in the audio.
Okay.
And just give me a second to find it. And if you don't mind giving me just a couple minutes to find this, I really want to thank people. I moved the emails to what I thought was the correct folder, and they're not showing up.
We're going to talk about the very first thing that pops up on my Reddit feed. Which is...
By the way,
this is an ad.
Found him.
This is how important members are to us that we're willing to pause the show.
Seriously, no, absolutely 100%. When we get a new member, we want to thank you, and it's very much appreciated. So let me cut back to thanking the members. You can cut that audio together that way.
You don't want to talk about this drunk cat?
No, I don't. We've got actually 3 new members to thank this week. Thank you to Matt, who is a new member at $5 a month, so he'll get to do the monthly hangouts with us as well. And actually, all 3 of them are at $5 a month. Aiden, thank you so much for your membership; means the world to us. And Jason, also becoming a SiftPop member at $5 a month. There's different levels. Starts at $3 a month and supports what goes on here. Makes this something that we can do and have a good time doing. It is literally the reason we can do this on YouTube. The equipment, the ability for us to do this is because of you amazing SiftPop members. So thank you for that. And again, we will be doing a SiftPop bonus podcast for you on our favorite Jokers throughout pop culture media in the bonus podcast. So thank you again for helping us out, keeping this thing going. All right, let's move on to our Sift Quest. This is the question you get to us. You can email it to us, feedback@siftpop.com. Feedback@siftpop.com is where you email those questions. It says, I know you've both worked on YouTube channels, so I was curious what your favorite YouTube channels are or what YouTube rabbit holes you've fallen into recently.
Good question.
Andrew, I'll let you start.
I'm going to start off with one of the oldest, and it's not technically a YouTube channel, but I don't care. Rooster Teeth. I love Rooster Teeth. It's one of my favorite creators out there, from Red vs. Blue to Ruby to the Let's Play. I mean, those are just some of the funniest people out there. I got to give them a shout out. From... Gosh, I can't even remember. Back whenever I had AOL was the main thing,
Yeah.
And E-Bombs World was the thing before YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I would always go there and I would watch the newest Red vs. Blue. love Rooster Teeth, and they're still around, and they're still like the kings. It's crazy that they've been around for so long.
I have horrible answers to this question. I apologize ahead of time because my interaction with YouTube is...
I like CinemaSins.
I do enjoy those. My answers are indicative of how I use YouTube, which is just as a diversion. I'm not really invested in like weekly content that somebody does or those kind of things. You know, I'll watch an occasional Jeremy Jahns movie review, or Chris Stuckman especially. I really like Chris Stuckman. I think he has very intelligent thoughts on film. You know, so I do like some of the YouTube reviewers. But for the most part, I'm watching stuff like the Marble Olympics, which is something my kids and got me into, and it's...
Who's your favorite?
It's just...
Mine's Indigo.
It's just the most ridiculous thing. But what's weird is you do end up having favorites. You end up rooting for these stupid marbles that are just obeying the laws of physics. That's all they're doing. They've got no personalities, but, you know, it's presented really well. It's a lot of fun, and they do, you know, just different qualifying, and then they'll have the finals and the medal ceremony, and it's wild. So that's a rabbit hole I fall down to. The other one I've fallen down to into recently is SkillCon videos. SkillCon is like a conference that takes place every year that emphasizes kind of the stranger sports and competitions that people do that are organized, you know, kind of, they're fringe, but they're organized. So it's just not like something weird a couple people invented.
Competitive tag?
Yeah, exactly. That's a SkillCon thing. So there's...
which, by the way, that competitive tag parkour thing is insane.
Foot bag. You know, like hacky sack. There's like professional, like it's almost like a volleyball. It's called net foot bag kind of thing that happens. They've got speed cubing is one thing they'll do at those, which is amazing. You've got combat juggling. Have you ever watched combat juggling?
Where they try and knock the...
yes.
It looks... I've seen like snippets of it, and I thought it looked like the dumbest thing ever. I have to be honest.
No,
sorry
sure.
for all our...
I think if you watched more than just a snippet, though, I think you'd be impressed. It's pretty intense what they're doing. Zone ball, which I'm not sure what that is. They've got lightsaber finals.
Okay, there are some lightsaber skilled people out there that are like otherworldly, like better than actual Star Wars like choreographed things.
Yep. So there's just all these different, you know, weird skills. Cornhole, I think they do cornhole there. All sorts of stuff. So it's kind of like the Ocho, but, you know.
Yeah, the Ocho.
So I don't know. It's just a rabbit hole I can fall into and just watch. I've always said it doesn't matter what the activity is. The people who've dedicated their life to being the best at it, I'm in. Like, you will blow my mind. So that's kind of what SkillCon is about.
Are Cotton and Pepper the announcers? That's all I care about.
I wish.
Jason Bateman's kind of busy nowadays.
That would be amazing. So those are my answers. I know they're not, you know, I know everybody has their favorite YouTubers and that kind of stuff. And I just, you know, I'm more of a rabbit hole kind of guy.
Two more I'm going to give a shout out to.
Sure.
Corridor is a channel that I'm falling down a rabbit hole, I guess you could say, with VFX artists and stuntmen react. Have you seen these videos?
Yes.
They're fascinating.
Yeah, that is a rabbit hole I've fallen into too, is like the language expert who rates, you know, accents.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, I do enjoy that. Or actually Penn Jillette has done some stuff recently about magic in movies. And and rating, you know, the magic in the movies and that kind of stuff, I thought was really interesting.
I got to see that one because you know me, I love my Pendulette.
Yeah, he's the best.
But another one I'm going to give a shout out to, a big rabbit hole I fell down, is a series called Super Easy, Barely an Inconvenience. What this is it's a mockery pitch meeting for bad movies.
Okay.
Like one example is like X-Men Origins Wolverine, you know, how it's the scriptwriter going in to pitch to the producers like, so you have a new movie for me? Yes, sir, I do. And they just list everything that's going to happen in the movie, and they break it down like, well, why would he do that? Because reasons. Okay. And he just nails every single movie, and he just takes them to town. And it's so
I've seen a couple of those. It's not unlike CinemaSins, where
it sounds very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like
it's a different format.
It's a different format, and the fact that he's like, oh, so that's why they did the movie.
Honest Trailers is the same kind of thing as well, right? There's kind of 3 different versions of kind of the same fun stuff. So
and
very nice.
Oral Knots is the funniest YouTube channel of all time. I'm just giving them a quick shout out.
Huge shout out to Jeff, who just became a member live during the show. That's how it works right there.
Jeff, you thought you were going to have to wait till next week. No, sir. You get your shout out right now.
That's amazing. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
I really, really do appreciate that.
The name is Jeff.
So there you go. Those are our thoughts on YouTube. We thank you for the question. If you want to get your Sift Quest in again, the email is feedback@siftpop.com. All right, let's finish it out with our buried treasure, Andrew. What's that one thing in any area of pop culture that you want to make sure people know about?
I think Phil's more excited about this than I am. So... it was either last week or a couple weeks ago I plugged a comic book.
Yeah.
I'm doing it again.
All right.
This is Avengers versus X-Men. And yeah, it's crazy good. The basic premise of this is the Phoenix Force is returning to Earth. And the Avengers find out about it, and so do the X-Men, but they both have different goals for how they want to handle it. So before the Phoenix Force actually arrives on Earth, you have these 2 opposing forces battling each other for what they think needs to be done in order to take care of the Phoenix Force.
Ooh.
The 2 main protagonists in this are Cyclops and Captain America. And their ideological theories and stuff, it kind of reminds me of Civil War in the fact that there is no bad guy. They're both right from where they're coming from. You understand both of them. And Phil, I'm going to hand it off to you because I know you love this so very, very much.
I've been saying for years that if Disney ever bought the X-Men,
this is what you want them to do.
This is what I want them to do.
Actually, I think that this would be the best way to introduce the X-Men.
Yes.
But it deals with the Phoenix Force?
Yes.
Do you think people will be tired of that?
No, because they're gonna. If they do it, then they better do it right.
Here's why they wouldn't be tired of this one is Jean Grey is nowhere in the picture in this story.
Okay,
it is not a Jean Grey story.
Yeah, Jean Grey's
it's about the actual Phoenix Force.
Yes.
Yeah, Jean Grey's dead.
I got to tell you, I am fascinated to see how they introduce the X-Men into the MCU.
This would be a great way to do it.
Because technically, Scarlet Witch could bring them in because...
But I don't understand. Here's my thing. I don't understand how you introduce the X-Men as a fully formed thing into the MCU. I think you have to introduce it as a new evolution. I don't understand how they would, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, oh, these guys have existed for 20 years,
I think it's
nobody's ever talked about them.
I think it's going to have to be done with Doctor Strange in the Doctor Strange movie. Because if Scarlet Witch
you've talked about that before. You've talked about an alternate dimension or something.
And then, like, the combining of those dimensions.
You've talked, I don't really like that. Feels like too much of a cheat to me. I'd almost, but I would obviously go along with it, but...
Yeah. The main premise of this is not a spoiler for the series. If you're planning on reading it, this happens in the first issue, but basically the Phoenix comes and it's headed for one person who's actually named Hope.
Hope Summers.
Yeah, and instead of hitting Hope, it hits 5 people at once.
Yeah.
So they become the Phoenix 5, and those people are Cyclops, Namor, Magic, which hasn't been in any of the movies. Namor hasn't either. Emma Frost and Colossus. So basically, they all take like 20% of the Phoenix Force, and they're all still super powerful.
Yeah.
And then it becomes kind of them versus the Avengers, and the X-Men kind of split sides a little bit. It's fantastic. It's a great story.
It's so good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I didn't think that was the first issue, was it?
Oh, I guess not. It's been a while since I've read it.
Yeah,
but
that's like the midway. Yeah. Everything before that is like the Phoenix Force on its way to Earth, and there's like this huge battle with, the X-Men, and because everything up until that point is like everybody's mad at Scarlet Witch because Scarlet Witch got rid of all the mutants. Yeah. Because with her powers, I gotta say this. In the comic books, Scarlet Witch is so powerful compared to how powerful she is in the MCU.
She's pretty powerful in the MCU.
I know, but that should tell you something about how powerful she is.
And, on an episode where we're talking about mental illness, insanity, she literally goes insane.
Yeah, and gets rid of all the mutants.
Yeah, annihilates basically mutant. I mean, they lose their powers.
With 3 words, she just says, "No more mutants." And
so this story is really about getting mutants back, like getting their powers back to them, because the Phoenix has the ability to do that.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say, and this is, I'm not going to say who it is because it's a major spoiler, but at the end there's a big time death. Like
shocking death.
Wow, a big character in the Marvel universe dies.
Yeah.
So definitely read it if you're interested at all.
Fascinating. Yeah. I am super curious. You know, I've said before, I think I like superpowers. They're cool. It's cool to think of different types of superpowers, and it's one of the reasons I'm drawn to the X-Men, because of all the different variations. Mm-hmm. But honestly, what I've loved most about the Marvel thing is the soap opera kind of effect of it, is the idea that they're telling such a large story that's interconnected.
Yeah, Scorsese.
That's what...
Take that.
No, I think a lot of times, I didn't even mean it as a reference back to that, but a lot of times people do kind of see it as, oh, superpowers doing superpowered stuff, and it's like, I'm bored of that. It's like, yeah, but it's not just that. Especially with the MCU, it really is about, they have created a serialized soap opera, because that's what comic books have done for so long, and that is the beauty of understanding the right way to, I say the right way, a great way to take comics to the big screen is to pattern that kind of serialization soap opera effect to the big screen instead of just telling independent stories.
Yeah.
So
Robert Kirkman, the author of The Walking Dead, has always said that it is not about the zombies. That show is not about the undead. It's about these people.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the soap opera.
Walking Dead are the people who survived.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. You ready for mine?
Yes.
I finally got around to seeing Fighting with My Family, and I don't think I've talked about that here.
I'm excited.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, Nick Frost, and it's the true story of help me out here. I'm having a brain fart.
Paige.
Paige.
Yeah.
Fun movie.
It really is. It's really good. Nick Frost and Lena
Dunham.
Not Dunham.
Headey.
Are the parents, which is amazing. And
on,
Florence Pugh, man, what a year she's having. It's incredible to think this is the same person from Midsommar. She's a great actress, and she's doing good work here. I thought the WWE did a great job of letting the story kind of be the driving factor and just have them be on, kind of the foundation or the periphery of it.
Yeah.
I think that's the best thing they can do.
The Rock.
And The Rock is in there as The Rock,
Yeah.
as are several other famous WWE. It was good enough and emotional enough and interesting enough that I did some, digging afterwards to see how much it was like. Because true stories, I always do that. I always kind of go and see where they differed. And they differed in quite a few spots. Specifically, that final match is very different in the movie for character reasons than it is, obviously, in the real WWE. That was an easy one. I could just go watch the match on YouTube and see it. But overall, those choices that the movie makes to change from reality serve the message and the story well. It is a little bit paint by numbers. It's a little bit on the nose, but it works. It kind of reminded me. It really reminded me of like Disney sports movies that are based on true
like
stories,
Miracle?
like Miracle or
Miracle's
The Million Dollar Arm. Million Dollar Arm's another really good one. Where it's like, they've changed some stuff, and you can tell it's the same formula they always do with their sports movies, but it works.
Yeah.
And it's good. And that's kind of how I felt about Fighting with Your Family, or Fighting with My Family.
I like that you like this movie, and I was curious because I grew up watching wrestling and stuff. It's always been a part of my life. It's not so much anymore, but I don't think it's ever really been a big part of your life, has it? So
I've had friends who are really into it, but I've never been into it.
But I was curious about people who weren't a part of that world.
And of course, at my age, if you weren't into Hulk Hogan, like you weren't a kid my age.
Exactly, yeah. The same way with me, If it was Macho Man Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, and...
yeah, but that's really my only extent. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's just a great, well-told, emotional story, and has some really good things to say. So Fighting with My Family is my bird treasure.
Nice.
We did it, man.
Woo, yeah.
We destroyed society.
Yeah.
By doing a podcast.
Yeah.
We are trolls.
Do you want to know how I got this podcast?
Thanks so much for joining us today for SiftPop. It is part of the Studio DNA Podcast Network. You can find out more about other shows on the network at studiodna.media or by searching Studio DNA in your podcast player. Huge thanks to Andrew for coming and hanging out again.
Thank you, buddy.
Talking Joker. Huge thanks to producer Phil for producing both the audio and video part of this show. If you want to see the video part, you can see that at YouTube. If you want to hear the audio part, you can subscribe in your favorite podcast player.
It's true.
Much love and gratitude to our SiftPop members again for giving monthly to make SiftPop a real thing. That support starts at $3 a month. It comes with some fun stuff, including access to every bonus episode that we record, as well as a monthly video hangout. You can find out more information at Patreon, patreon.com/SiftPop. Lots of ways to connect with the podcast. You can comment, rate, leave a review, throw some stars at us on Apple Podcasts. We'll appreciate it. You can also email us your questions or feedback at feedback@siftpop.com. And finally, if you're having a good time, your movie-loving friends will probably like the show too, so make sure you let them know about it and that listening is much easier than unlocking some doors. We will be back with some some spoilers. I try to make it just vague enough.
Yeah.
We will be back with some spoilers in the feed. So if you want spoilers on Joker, we'll be getting into those. And then next week we'll talk about Gemini Man.
Woo.
We'll see you then.
Bye.
Thank you. Live chat on YouTube. Great conversation. At one point, 25 people I think were watching.
Yeah, we had a lot of people in the chat today.
It was nice. Let's see. Let me go through some of these comments before we, say
quick,
goodbye to YouTube.
Thank you again, Jeff, for subscribing.
Yeah, man,
awesome.
really appreciate that. Thanks for being a member. Artist Project. Let's see. This is more for Aaron, but I welcome Andrew to check this out as well. If weekly uploads aren't your thing and you want a channel that cares about quality and upload schedule, check out Lemino, Lemmino. He started watching in 2014 when he was doing top 10 fact videos, and he's now doing short documentaries. Very cool. Very cool.
Nice.
Yep. Jeff says in the chat, realized just now I hadn't Patreoned yet. Whoops.
Well, it has now.
Just rectified that. Thank you again for that. Let's see. A little talk about the award season. Chable says the fact that there isn't a vocal performance category in the major awards is one of the biggest oversights. Totally agree. I think last year I tweeted something about the 5 categories that need to be added. Stunt coordinator also is definitely one of those. I think
stunt men.
I think casting is one too.
Yeah.
I think that should be an award.
There's no casting award? Wow.
Isn't that credible?
That's crazy.
I know, right?
That's a big part of the...
Casting directors are essentially the ones in charge of finding all of the people that work perfect with each other.
I know. It's like the costumers have their award for the clothes on the screen, but the people who put the people on the screen...
That's crazy.
No, I'm not worried about them. Let's see.
What are some people's reactions to Joker?
Jeff says, as expected, The Master is number 1 for me. So glad it got mentioned. Jeff also says, De Niro is just kind of there in this movie with fake teeth. Chable says, quote, unquote, this movie is Hitler, Aaron Dicer. Jeff says, headline, Aaron calls the Joker movie Hitler. Thank you. The aggregators are coming out for me. Let's see. Dan says, I feel like this is the most alive Gotham has ever felt for me. It felt like a real city with real people and real problems. I agree with that.
It's daytime.
I agree with that.
You never see Gotham during the daytime.
Let's see. Seth says, I wanted to defend Wendy's, but then realized I hadn't had it in a year. Never mind, I guess. Let's see.
Wendy says the 4 for $4 is the best value you can get at a fast food restaurant, people.
Jeff says Robert DeLeno, because he was a talk show host. That was.
Oh.
See?
It just hit.
Says,
that was definitely an Aaron joke right there.
Taco Bell is my favorite fast food by far. Let's see. Jeff says, I'm so hungry now. Let's take a look. Evan says, watching from my Tesla.
Oh, that's
nice.
Cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Way to brag about the Tesla, bro.
I've ridden in Evan's Tesla. It is a nice car. I really want a Tesla. I will never own a Tesla.
Me neither.
Unless they come way down. I mean, the new ones are a little bit cheaper, but...
They're still like 35, 40K.
If the used market was a little bit healthier, I might be able to get one. You know what I mean? Like, if I could buy one used for like... I could save maybe 6 or 7K, you know, for like an old used one or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't think I'll ever be there.
What are people saying about Joker? Like,
I think I kind of went through it all.
Really?
They were just listening to our incredible conversation
they were enraptured.
about. Yeah.
man.
Thank you all for hanging out with us. We really do appreciate you. We're going to get into the spoilers now. So if you want to join us, we're going to close this one off. I'm going to create a new one that's marked as spoilers so people don't get spoiled. And you can join us there. So we'll see you there.
Bye.